history of the NFL had ever overcome so big a deficit in a conference championship. Dungy's team, once again, was going to lose. At halftime, the team filed into the locker room, and Dungy asked everyone to gather around. The noise from the stadium filtered through the closed doors, but inside, everyone was quiet. Dungy looked at his players. They had to believe, he said. We faced this same situation against the same team in 2003, Dungy told them. In that game, they had come within 1 yard of winning. 1 yard. Get your sword ready, because this time we're going to win. This is our game. It's our time. The Colts came out in the second half and started playing as they had in every preceding game. They stayed focused on their cues and habits. They carefully executed the plays they had spent the past 5 years practicing until they had become automatic. Their offense on the opening drive ground out 76 yards over 14 plays and scored a touchdown. Then, 3 minutes down, the teams traded points but never managed to pull ahead. With 3 minutes 49 seconds left in the game, the Patriots scored, putting Dungy's players at a 3-point disadvantage, 34-31. The Colts got the ball and began driving down the field. They moved 70 yards in 19 seconds and crossed into the end zone. For the first time, the Colts had the lead, 38-34. There were now 60 seconds left on the clock. If Dungy's team could stop the Patriots from scoring a touchdown, the Colts would win. 60 seconds is an eternity in football. The Patriots quarterback, Tom Brady, had scored touchdowns in far less time. Sure enough, within seconds of the start of play, Brady moved his team halfway down the field. With 17 seconds remaining, the Patriots were within striking distance, poised for a final big play that would hand Dungy another defeat and crush, yet again, his team's Super Bowl dreams. As the Patriots approached the line of scrimmage, the Colts defense went into their stances. Marlin Jackson, a Colts cornerback, stood 10 yards back from the line. He looked at his cues, the width of the gaps between the Patriot linemen and the depth of the running back stance. Both told him this was going to be a passing play. Tom Brady, the Patriots quarterback, took the snap and dropped back to pass. Jackson was already moving. Brady cocked his arm and heaved the ball. His intended target was a Patriot. Yo, Frank, add both of these people that just got added to this thing. No, don't add the pure shot creator average 6 points. Add JG Dollars. Yeah, get his info. And Boom Boom. He rushed past the receiver's right shoulder, cutting in front of him just as the ball arrived. Because I can't open everything up and add them right now. JG Dollars, Boom Boom D. A few more steps and then slid to the ground, hugging the ball to his chest. The whole play had taken less than 5 seconds. The game was over. Dungy and the Colts had won. 2 weeks later, they won the Super Bowl. There are dozens of reasons that might explain why the Colts finally became champions that year. Maybe they got lucky. Maybe it was just their time. But Dungy's players say it's because they believed. And because that belief made everything they had learned, all the routines they had practiced until they became automatic, stick, even at the most stressful moments. We're proud to have won this championship for our leader, Coach Dungy. Peyton Manning told the crowd afterward, cradling the Lombardi trophy. Dungy turned to his wife. "We did it," he said. How do habits change? There is, unfortunately, no specific set of steps guaranteed to work for every person. We know that a habit cannot be eradicated. It must, instead, be replaced. And we know that habits are most malleable when the golden rule of habit change is applied. If we keep the same cue and the same reward, a new routine can be inserted. But that's not enough. For a habit to stay changed, people must believe change is possible. And most often, that belief only emerges with the help of a group. If you want to quit smoking, figure out a different routine that will satisfy the cravings filled by cigarettes. Then, find a support group, a collection of other former smokers, or a community that will help you believe you can stay away from nicotine. And use that group when you feel you might stumble. If you want to lose weight, study your habits to determine why you really leave your desk for a snack each day.
What up, JG?
Then find someone else to take a walk with you, to gossip with at their desk rather than in the cafeteria. A group that tracks weight loss goals together, or someone who also wants to keep a stock of apples rather than chips nearby. The evidence is clear. If you want to change a habit, you must find an alternative routine, and your odds of success go up dramatically when you commit to changing as part of a group. Belief is essential, and it grows out of a communal experience. Even if that community is only change can happen. Alcoholics can stop drinking. Smokers you can stop biting your nails or snacking at work, yelling at your kids, staying up all night, or worrying over small concerns. And as scientists have discovered, it's not just individual lives that can shift when habits are tended to. It's also companies, organizations, and communities, as the next chapters explain. Part 2. The Habits of Successful Organizations.
Good luck here.
Chapter 4.
Yo, expect the ball early. I'm pushing the ball. I'm pushing the pace.
Paul O'Neill. Which habits matter most? 1.
That's a stretch? Why you left him? Oh, he not a stretch. Good defense. Nah.
A herd of prominent Wall
Not till he hit one, he ain't.
stock analysts gathered in the ballroom of a posh Manhattan hotel. They were there to meet the new CEO of the Aluminum Company of America, or Alcoa.
We need the rebound.
A corporation that, for nearly a century, had manufactured everything from the foil that wraps Hershey's Kisses and the metal in Coca-Cola cans to the bolts that hold satellites together. Alcoa's founder had invented the process for smelting aluminum a century earlier. And since then, the company had become one of the largest on Earth.
That wasn't even my pass.
Many of the people in the audience had invested millions in Alcoa.
Yeah, they inbounded to somebody else a second ago. Yo, our offense is gonna work best if nobody's down court on the inbound.
Trying to expand into
Yeah, y'all gotta be patient, man. Relax. The ball is coming around. Calm down. You're not playing with randoms. Just relax.
There had been a palpable sense of relief when Alcoa's board announced it was time for new leadership. That relief, though, turned to unease
That's all.
when the choice was announced. The new CEO would be a former government bureaucrat named Paul O'Neill. Many on Wall Street had never heard of him. When Alcoa scheduled this meet and greet at the Manhattan Ballroom, every major investor asked for an invitation. A few minutes before noon, O'Neill took the stage. He was 51 years old, trim, and dressed in gray pinstripes and a red power tie. His hair was white and his posture military straight. He bounced up the steps and smiled warmly. He looked dignified, solid, confident, like a chief executive. Then he opened his mouth. "I want to talk to you about worker safety," he said. "Every year, numerous Alcoa workers are injured so badly that they miss a day of work. Our safety record is better than the general American workforce, especially considering that our employees work with metals that are 1,500 degrees and machines that can rip a man's arm off. but it's not good enough. I intend to make Alcoa the safest company in America. I intend to go for 0 injuries. The audience was confused. These meetings usually followed a predictable script. A new CEO would start with an introduction, make a faux self-deprecating joke, something about how he slept his way through Harvard Business School, then promise to boost profits and lower costs. Next would come an excoriation of taxes, business regulations, and sometimes, with a fervor that suggested first-hand experience in divorce court, lawyers. Finally, the speech would end with a blizzard of buzzwords: synergy, right-sizing, and co-opetition. At which point everyone could return to their offices, reassured that capitalism was safe for another day. O'Neill hadn't said anything about profits. He didn't mention taxes. There was no talk of using alignment to achieve a win-win synergistic market advantage. For all anyone in the audience knew, given his talk of worker safety, O'Neill might be pro-regulation. It was a terrifying prospect. Now, before I go any further, O'Neill said, I want to point out the safety exits in this room. He gestured to the rear of the ballroom. There's a couple doors in the back, and in the unlikely event of a fire or other emergency, you should calmly walk out, go down the stairs to the lobby, and leave the building. Silence. The only noise was the hum of traffic through the windows. Safety? Fire exits? Was this a joke? One investor in the audience knew that
why are you leaving him open?
DC during the 60s.
Why are you leaving him open? No, just guard. Everybody guard their man. We not running zone.
Eventually, someone raised a hand and asked.
And inbound to the point guard, man. Y'all wasting possessions right now.
Another asked about the company's capital ratios. I'm not certain you heard me, O'Neill said. If you want to understand how Alcoa is doing, you need to look at our workplace safety figures. If we bring our injury rates down,
damn, why are you not even inside the fucking... Wow, bro. Wow.
It will be because the individuals at this company
He was at the rim.
need to become part of something important. They've devoted themselves to creating a habit of excellence. Safety will be an indicator that we're making progress in changing our habits across the entire institution. That's how we should be judged. The investors in the room almost stampeded out the doors when the presentation ended. One jogged to the lobby, found a payphone for clients.
Yo, can you watch out? Can you go up court, bro?
The board put a crazy hippie in
Like, I'm running point. Go up court.
Company. That investor told me. Same thing. It was literally the worst piece of advice I gave in my entire career. Within a year of O'Neill's speech, Alcoa's profits would hit a record high. By the time O'Neill retired,
Stop helping off your man. What are y'all doing?
his annual net income was 5 times larger than before he arrived. And its
Bro, why y'all helping off of y'all
organization
players? I don't understand that.
Someone who invested $1 million in Alcoa
Just stay with your one player, bro. You playing center, guard the center. Playing PG, guard the PG.
And the value of their stock would be 5 times bigger when he left. What's more, all that growth occurred while Alcoa became one of the safest companies in the world. Before O'Neill,
We could guard that better if you come up. Yeah, but if you come up with the screen, your man set a screen. You didn't play any defense. You understand? Your man set a screen on mine. You never switched. You never got close. You didn't do anything. You gotta come up. If your man's going to set a screen, what you standing low for?
So how did O'Neill make one of the largest, stodgiest, and most potentially dangerous companies into a profit machine and a bastion of safety? By attacking one habit and then watching the changes ripple through the organization. I knew I had to transform Alcoa, O'Neill told me. But you can't order people to change. That's not how the brain works. So I decided I was going to to start by focusing on one thing. If I could start disrupting the habits around one thing, it would spread throughout the entire company. O'Neill believed that some habits have the power to start a chain reaction, changing other habits as they move through an organization. Some habits, in other words, matter more than others in remaking businesses and lives. These are keystone habits, and they can influence.
Oh my God, go to the rim, bro.
Play, live,
just go to the rack. Like, what are you doing? I don't understand. Are you a shooter? Like, why are you cutting to the 3-point line? What's at the 3-point line for you?
Keystone habits say that success doesn't depend on getting every single thing right, but instead relies on identifying a few key priorities and fashioning them into powerful levers. This book's first section explained how habits work, how they can be created and changed. However, where should a would-be habit master start? Understanding keystone habits holds the answer to that question. The habits that matter most are the ones that, when they start to shift, dislodge and remake other patterns. Keystone habits explain how Michael Phelps became an Olympic champion and why some college students outperformed their peers. They describe why some people, after years of trying, suddenly lose 40 pounds while becoming more productive at work and still getting home in time for dinner with their kids. And keystone habits explain how Alcoa became one of the best performing stocks in the Dow Jones Index, while also becoming one of the safest places on Earth. When Alcoa first approached O'Neill about becoming CEO, he wasn't sure he wanted the job. He'd already earned plenty of money, and his wife liked Connecticut, where they lived. They didn't know anything about Pittsburgh, where Alcoa was headquartered. But before turning down the offer, O'Neill asked for some time to think it over. To help himself make the decision, he started working on a list of what would be his biggest priorities if he accepted the post. O'Neill had always been a big believer in lists. Lists were how he organized his life. In college at Fresno State, where he finished his courses in a bit over 3 years, while also working 30 hours a week, O'Neill had drafted a list of everything he hoped to accomplish during his lifetime, including, near the top, make a difference. After graduating in 1960 at a friend's encouragement, O'Neill picked up an application for a federal internship, and along with 300,000 others, took the government employment exam. 3,000 people were chosen for interviews. 300 of them were offered jobs. O'Neill was one. He started as a middle manager at the Veterans Administration and was told to learn about computer systems. All the while, O'Neill kept writing his lists, recording why some projects were more successful than others, which contractors delivered on time and which didn't. He was promoted each year, and as he rose through the VA's ranks, he made a name for himself as someone whose lists always seemed to include a bullet point that got a problem solved. By the mid-1960s, such skills were in high demand in Washington, D.C. Robert McNamara had recently remade the Pentagon by hiring a crop of young mathematicians, statisticians, and computer programmers. President Johnson wanted some whiz kids of his own, so O'Neill was recruited to what eventually became known as the Office of Management and Budget, one of D.C.'s most powerful agencies. Within a decade, at age 38, he was promoted deputy director and was suddenly among the most influenced to create an analytical framework for studying how the government was spending money on healthcare. He quickly figured out that the government's efforts, which should have been guided by logical rules and deliberate priorities, were instead driven by bizarre institutional processes that, in many ways, operated like habits. Bureaucrats and politicians, rather than making decisions, were responding to cues with automatic routines in order to get rewards
That's a tough bucket that you just dropped.
It was the habit loop, spread across thousands.
I'm lagging. Don't pass it to me.
century later, it was still chugging along. And so whenever lawmakers allocated new healthcare funds, bureaucrats immediately started building. The towns where the new hospitals were located didn't necessarily need more patient beds, but that didn't matter. What mattered was erecting a big structure that a politician could point to while stumping for votes. Federal workers would spend months debating blue or yellow curtains, figuring out if patient rooms should contain 1 or 2 televisions, designing nurses' stations, real pointless stuff, O'Neill told me. Most of the time, no one ever asked if the town wanted a hospital. The bureaucrats had gotten into a habit of solving every medical problem by building something so that a congressman could say, "Here's what I did." It didn't make any sense, but everybody did the same thing again and again. Researchers have found institutional habits in almost every organization or company they've scrutinized. Individuals have habits. Groups have routines, wrote the academic Jeffrey Hodgson, who spent a career examining organizational patterns. Routines are the organizational analog of habits. To O'Neill, these kinds of habits seemed dangerous. We were basically ceding decision-making to a process that occurred without actually thinking, O'Neill said. But at other agencies, where change was in the air, good organizational habits were creating success. Some departments at NASA, for instance, were overhauling themselves by deliberately instituting organizational routines that encouraged engineers to take more risks. When unmanned rockets exploded on takeoff, department heads would applaud so that everyone would know their division had tried and failed, but at least they had tried. Eventually, mission control filled with applause every time something expensive blew up. It became an organizational habit. Or take the Environmental Protection Agency, which was created in 1970. The EPA's first administrator, William Ruckelshaus, consciously engineered organizational habits that encouraged his regulators to be aggressive on enforcement. When lawyers asked for permission to file a lawsuit or enforcement action, it went through a process for approval. The default was authorization to go ahead. The message was clear. At the EPA, aggression gets rewarded. By 1975, the EPA was issuing more than 1,500 new environmental rules a year. Every time I looked at a different part of the government, I found these habits that seemed to explain why things were either succeeding or failing, O'Neill told me. The best agencies understood the importance of routines. The worst agencies were headed by people who never thought about it, and then wondered why no one followed their orders. In 1977, after 16 years in Washington, D.C., O'Neill decided it was time to leave. He was working 15 hours a day, 7 days a week, and his wife was tired of raising 4 children on her own. O'Neill resigned and landed a job with International Paper, the world's largest pulp and paper company. He eventually became its president. By then, some of his old government friends were on Alcoa's board. When the company needed a new chief executive, they thought of him, which is how he ended up writing the list of his priorities if he decided to take the job. At the time, Alcoa was struggling. Critics said the company's workers weren't nimble enough, and the quality of its products was poor. But at the top of O'Neill's list, he didn't write quality or efficiency as his biggest priorities. At a company as big and as old as Alcoa,